In June 2020, auditors walked into Germany's hottest tech giant to verify $2 billion in cash, only to make a terrifying realization: the money literally did not exist. Wirecard was the pride of European Fintech, a digital payment powerhouse handling tens of billions in online transactions. But while investors celebrated its meteoric rise into Germany's elite DAX 30 index behind closed doors, executives were running one of the most audacious financial illusions in modern history. How does $2 billion, over €1.9 billion, simply vanish into thin air without the regulators noticing? Drop a comment right now. Have you ever trusted a financial app only to worry about where your money actually goes? Stay until the very end of this video, where we'll uncover the crucial lessons this massive failure teaches us about the dark side of corporate hype. Before Wirecard became a multi-billion-dollar ghost story, it was a struggling startup processing payments for porn sites and online gambling. Enter Marcus Braun, a former KPMG consultant with a signature black turtleneck, an icy demeanor, and a vision to make Wirecard the PayPal of Europe. Joined by Jan Marsalek, a charming, opera-loving high school dropout who rose to chief operating officer, the duo rebranded the firm into a tech miracle. Investors fell in love with the story, a German company finally beating Silicon Valley at its own game. By 2018, Wirecard replaced Commerzbank on Germany's elite DAX 30 index, valuing the company at over $24 billion. But behind the glossy press releases, how could a payment processor grow at such an impossible speed during a global economic slowdown? Have you ever backed a hype train that turned out to be too good to be true? Let us know in the comments below. Behind Wirecard's explosive market expansion lay a dirty secret. Legitimate blue-chip companies weren't generating enough high-margin revenue to justify their astronomical valuation. To fix this, COO Jan Marsalek relied heavily on third-party acquirers, dubious offshore partner companies located in regions like Dubai, Singapore, and the Philippines. Wirecard claimed these foreign entities were processing billions of dollars in transaction volumes on their behalf. In reality, these third-party networks were a web of shell companies designed to manufacture fake profits out of thin air. Instead of real credit card processing fees, Wirecard executives were essentially typing fabricated numbers straight into spreadsheets and passing them off as actual cash flow. Have you ever looked closely at a tech company's business model and thought, how are they actually making money? Tell us in the comments. By 2015, rumors of Wirecard's suspicious bookkeeping reached Dan McCrum, an investigative journalist for the Financial Times in London. McCrum began digging into Wirecard's international operations, aided by internal whistleblowers who leaked emails, contracts, and forged invoices exposing systematic fraud in Wirecard's Singapore office. The whistleblowers detailed a technique called round-tripping, where cash was routed through external partners to fake revenue before returning to Wirecard's books. But when the Financial Times published these explosive allegations, Wirecard didn't back down. Instead, executive Jan Marsalek launched an aggressive counteroffensive. Wirecard hired private intelligence firms, former spies, and high-powered lawyers to stalk McCrum, hack his email, and bug his newsroom. Have you ever stood up against a powerful organization when you knew something was deeply wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Instead of investigating Wirecard, German financial regulator BaFin made a shocking decision. They targeted the journalists. BaFin filed criminal complaints against Dan McCrum and short sellers for alleged market manipulation, arguing that reporting on fraud was an orchestrated attack to crash Germany's tech champion. In an unprecedented move, BaFin even banned short selling on Wirecard stock, effectively shielding the company from market scrutiny. Political figures and establishment figures rallied around Wirecard, viewing it as a national asset that needed protection from Anglo-American financial press. Blinded by national pride and a desire for a Silicon Valley equivalent, German authorities turned a blind eye to mounting evidence. How dangerous is it when government regulators protect powerful corporations instead of protecting the public? Share your thoughts on regulatory bias down in the comments below. As pressure mounted from journalists and short sellers, Wirecard's auditors at EY needed concrete proof that the company's massive cash reserves actually existed. Wirecard produced documents showing $2 billion sitting safely in escrow accounts at two major Philippine banks, BDO Unibank and Bank of the Philippine Islands. But when auditors finally sent teams directly to Manila to verify the account statements in June 2020, they uncovered an embarrassing truth. The bank certificates were complete forgeries, signature stamps were faked, and both Philippine banks confirmed Wirecard was never a customer. The money wasn't missing. It had never existed in the first place. $2 billion, accounting for over 80% of Wirecard's reported cash reserves, vanished overnight into thin air. How would you react if you discovered a company you invested in lied about its cash? Tell us in the comments. On June 18, 2020, Wirecard was forced to admit that $2 billion was missing. The announcement sent shockwaves through world financial markets. Within 1 week, Wirecard's stock price crashed by 99%, wiping out over $20 billion in shareholder value, and the firm filed for insolvency. CEO Markus Braun resigned and was quickly arrested by German police on charges of market manipulation and fraud. But COO Jan Marsalek executed a far more dramatic exit. Sensing his impending arrest, Marsalek boarded a private jet to Minsk, Belarus, before vanishing into Russia under the protection of foreign intelligence agencies. Investigators later revealed Marsalek had links to Russian spies, private mercenary armies, and secret intelligence operations. How crazy is it that a corporate executive turned out to be an international fugitive on the run? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. The collapse of Wirecard wasn't just a corporate failure, it triggered a massive political earthquake in Berlin. German Chancellor Angela Merkel had personally lobbied for Wirecard during a state visit to China in 2019, completely unaware of the raging fraud allegations. The German parliament launched a full-scale inquiry into how the nation's top financial watchdog, BaFin, had failed so catastrophically to protect investors. Government ministers were called to testify, senior regulatory heads were fired, and the German government overhauled its financial enforcement laws to prevent another national embarrassment. Wirecard destroyed public trust in European financial oversight, showing that even the most prestigious Western institutions can be duped by clever storytelling. Do you think government officials should face stricter penalties when regulatory oversight fails this badly? Leave your opinion in the comments below. The Wirecard scandal left behind a trail of devastated investors, disgraced regulators, and systemic policy changes. So what critical lessons can we learn from Germany's biggest corporate fraud? First, never ignore whistleblowers or independent financial journalists simply because their findings contradict a popular narrative. Second, regulatory agencies must remain entirely independent. When enforcement bodies prioritize protecting local corporate champions over investigating legitimate fraud, systemic collapse is inevitable. Third, blind trust in corporate auditors can be fatal. EY missed basic red flags for nearly a decade, showing that an auditor's approval seal isn't a guarantee of financial truth. Finally, if a company's business model relies on secret offshore partners and opaque cash reserves, it is almost always a ticking time bomb. What do you think is the biggest lesson from Wirecard's downfall? Share your perspective in the comments right now. The story of Wirecard is a stark reminder of how high-tech illusion, corporate greed, and regulatory blind spots can create a $2 billion mirage. To recap the key lessons, always question corporate hype that lacks clear financial transparency, demand independent oversight from regulators, and never assume a company's massive market cap guarantees its honesty. When accounting tricks, shell companies, and fake bank accounts replace real business fundamentals, even the biggest tech darlings will eventually crumble under the weight of their own lies. If you found this deep dive into corporate fraud informative and engaging, smash that like button right now and hit subscribe with notifications turned on. By subscribing, you ensure you'll never miss our future videos breaking down the world's most fascinating financial scandals, corporate spy stories, and economic mysteries. What story should we cover next? Let us know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.